Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of Pretty Deep Podcast. I'm Petra and this is...
I love the way you did that intro. I'm Dajana and we are so excited to have a little fun today.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I feel like we've been so serious so far in every episode, so we gotta kind of get loose a little bit.
Yes, especially because we are big kids and we joke around a lot and we have so much fun. And even though we love pretty deep topics, today we wanted to talk about our culture shocks that we had as Balkan girls who moved to LA. And for both of us, I think some of them are going to be things in common, but we also moved here a different time. Mm-hmm. So I can start with the first culture shock I had when I landed in Chicago. Okay. So I was 11 years old and I came to visit my dad. It was my first time in America and I landed in Chicago. That's where he came to pick me up, so I don't have to have a layover. And two things at the airport right off the bat. First of all, how big people are in America. I have never seen a person that big, that obese in the Balkans. I've never. Yes, we have people that are overweight, but the big people. I only seen that on TV and I remember just staring like this, oh my God, this is real, this is crazy. And I was only 11. And so I think I was really obvious about it and sorry, but it is what it is.
Obesity is a big problem in the United States.
Exactly. And then the second thing I saw were people sitting on the ground. Which was
at the airport?
Yeah, which is kind of weird. I've never seen people just sitting on the ground everywhere. Usually they're in a chair and people in front of the bathroom just sitting there eating their chips and I'm like, oh my God, people are just sitting everywhere all over the floor.
It's so funny you're saying that because till this day, every time when I'm at the airport and I see people laying or even sleeping on the ground, I'm like, oh my God, it's still weird for me to see that. But,
right?
I think coming from Balkan countries, I think we're used to judging people. It's in our DNA. We love to judge.
Yes.
And that's one thing that I really had to work on because it's interesting. Ever since I've been in LA, so it's been 7 years now, the people that I have around me here in the city, we never trash talk, we never judge, we never, we don't have those dramatic conversations like we do when we sit for a coffee in the main square in the city in Zagreb or whatever, right? So I really have worked on that. But then as soon as I go back home and as soon as I see my best friends and we sit down for coffee, I get off. Which is so bad because again, it's not nice to judge. You never know, but
if they don't hear
there's some innocent judging too, some innocent talking about some drama that's going on or whatever, of course it's not nice to judge, everybody should work on that, but an innocent gossiping, so yeah, it's very interesting how our people are just wired differently.
Well, our people also judge you to your face. They literally be like, "Oh, you gained a little weight, huh? Is everything okay?"
Yeah.
Or
but they don't even have to say anything. You can see it on our faces too. You can't fake. It's just
or one of those "Oh, you look so tired. Are you okay?
Oh, gosh.
You have bags under your eyes. Are you okay?
Are you sick? But that was my biggest problem living in Croatia because I was always skinny. I already told you that. Throughout my whole life, I was always too skinny. Yeah. So for our people, for my grandparents, for anybody really, any age, they're like, oh my God, you lost some weight. Oh, you gained weight. You look better. You look healthier. So that's it. People do not have filter.
Oh, my mom is the queen of that. Yeah. God forbid I lose 1 pound. I'm sick. Yeah. I'm dying. Okay. Yeah. I gain a pound or two. Oh, okay. You look a lot better. You look.
It's enough now. It's crazy. But again, those people that are judging you and telling you that, especially at your face, it's people who aren't happy. They're not happy with themselves. Because I know when I'm happy with myself, I don't even have a need to judge somebody.
Yeah, but it's also kind of a part of the culture. Like I
No,
know
it is. That's what I'm saying. It's in our DNA.
Yeah, you'll be sitting at coffee and
Yeah.
someone walk by and you're like, oh my God, look at that fat ass. I don't know how they're breathing on this heat. Or like someone else walks by and like, oh, look at her. What is she wearing? Oh my God, how did she leave the house like that?
It's almost like you can't help yourself. Even if you're trying to, like that thought come to you.
And then my favorite is like, people ask you what you're staring at. I mean, I've done that too, where like if someone's staring at you, I'm like, what are you looking at?
What are you looking at? Yeah. I remember being in high school, my friends and our favorite hobbies, my friends and I, we would love to sit on the main square and just sit there and watching people.
But there's like a thing here called like people watching.
Yeah,
so like
people
in
watching.
Central Park in New York, people do it. Maybe they don't go the extra step like we do. Maybe they don't judge.
I don't know. Yeah, probably they do. Why would you look at the people?
Yeah, I feel like here, to be completely honest, I think people are just fake here because they think that they just won't say it. You know, and how they say in America, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all.
But do you agree? I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, if that person doesn't hear me, like if it's me and you here without the camera, I may say like, oh my God, why is this person so fat? Or like, why are they putting a 300-pound female on Sports Illustrated? It's promoting obesity. Well, I guess now I'm saying it on camera too.
You are. I was just about
But I stand by that. I truly stand by that. I don't think that we should be promoting obesity. There's a reason why supermodels look like supermodels, and I loved walking by Victoria's Secret years ago and seeing Adriana Lima and Giselle and these gorgeous, beautiful, tall and skinny models.
But do you think you love that because you're gorgeous yourself?
But I'm not 5'10", and I'm not them.
Well, you know, you're beautiful.
Well, thank
you.
you.
Now imagine an ugly girl walking by Victoria's Secret and looking at those beautiful supermodels and thinking even more bad about themselves. You know?
But that's nobody's responsibility. There's a reason that she's a supermodel and that she's not. And that's okay. Not everyone in this life is supposed to be a supermodel. And it's not these companies' responsibility to walk on eggshells worrying about what people will feel.
Yeah, but now that the whole industry has changed. Like you can see at Victoria's Secret now they have plus size models everywhere. Actually, every company I feel like they have them.
Yeah, I think plus size models, they're pretty. There's a lot of pretty girls I've seen, but I'm talking that next step of how like Lizzo was, how she was at one point and everyone's like body positivity and she just clearly was extremely obese person. And not anymore, but great for her. That's amazing. Congratulations to her. But that shouldn't be glorified, you know?
Yeah.
Just like health disease is not glorified. So, and that's the number one reason people die in America. So anyway, going back to the Balkans. Here I am judging on camera. What was, do you remember some of the culture shocks for you when you moved here?
Yeah, I would say supermarkets. Just everything is so big. I hate going to supermarkets.
Yeah.
I hate that. That's like my worst nightmare. Going to Costco, going to Vons, or Whole Foods, whatever, Erewhon, I don't care what it is. I hate when I have too many options. And American supermarkets, it's like endless options. I hate that. I cannot stand it. It's just everything is so big cars, everything is like extra, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then they still, their food quality is still a lot worse than it is in Europe.
I mean, Europe is getting there as well. I read some article the other day that are saying like food in Europe is not what it used to be either. Even in Croatia, even on Balkans.
But it's still better.
It's still better.
You taste it. You literally taste the difference.
Yeah,
you buy
100%.
a banana. Like that was one of the biggest culture shocks for me actually was the food. When I moved here, everything just tasted plastic.
Yeah.
And it was during that time where, you know, the organic wasn't really in yet. And I remember we would just shop at Giant Eagle. That's where people shop in, you know, the Midwest. And you'd buy a banana and it just would taste like you're eating something that has no taste, you know, and then a tomato, you would smell it and just smells like plastic or nothing.
Especially for us who are coming, we came from Europe and we can tell the difference. But now imagine people who were born here and who grew up here, they don't know, that's all they know, right? So No, it's food pandemic. It's a serious issue in United States.
That's I think that's a whole different topic because there's so much to cover there.
Sure.
But other than the food, I think for me it was the lockers in school because you didn't go to school here, right?
No,
So for me, I remember
I went to college here.
Yeah,
but I didn't
college.
go to like high school.
So I went to high school and I was late to all of my classes because I could not open that locker for the life of me. It was like constantly turning and turning back, and I'm like trying to open. I was like, "Can you please open my locker for me?" Asking other kids, and then also the fact that classes are all in a different classroom. Like where I grew up, it's all in one classroom when you're in elementary school, for example, and then the teachers just switch.
Sure.
And here, like, you gotta like run to different classrooms. And I remember the first day of school, I was so lost. I was like, oh my God, there's so many hallways and there's so many different places to get lost in. And I showed up like a freaking alien in my class, and everyone just like turned because I walked in 10 minutes late, and the teacher asked me something, and I literally just looked at him and I said, I don't speak English. Aww. And I sat down, and then everyone was looking at me, and I was so red. My face was, I was like, I hate this.
No, I feel so bad. I can totally picture you like being like super. Like,
I was so awkward, and I remember just wanting to shrink.
14 years old. Yeah, you were 14 years old.
I just wanted to shrink so nobody looks at me and talks to me, and it was a lot. Yeah. And also, I think dating. It was so weird that everyone was kind of like taking their girlfriends and boyfriends home to meet the family, and it was such like not a big deal. You know how like for us, we'll only really introduce our boyfriend to our parents if it's serious. Most of the time, I mean, I would never take a guy to my family unless we're like really serious. Sure. I feel like in America, it's very casual. And the parents will meet like 20, 30 different people until they meet your husband and your wife.
My husband introduced me to his family after a month or 2 months that we were together. And I was like, Carm, are you serious?
Wow.
Like, super quick. And I remember one time when my dad told me like, oh, Petra, it's okay. Like you only had 2 long relationship. That's good. That's perfect in my dad's eyes. I'm like, because European dads, especially Balkan dads, their worst nightmare is, for their daughter to have more than 3, Yeah. So my dad is very satisfied with me, and my mom, I'm sure. But no, you're absolutely right. That's so ridiculous. I would, if I do have kids here, I'll be like, do not bring me anyway, because you get attached to that person too, right? Yeah. It's like crazy, like you do get attached.
Yeah, and then
now everybody, the whole family has to collectively go through the breakup.
Yeah, and then this one time I remember, oh my gosh, the funniest thing. So my mom came to LA. And she didn't speak English, but she's very outgoing. She's like me. She likes to talk to people. And so she went to the park to walk my dog, and she came home and she was like, I met this lady. She's divorced for the 2nd time. And this blah, she kept talking. She has 2 kids. One of her kids a doctor. And I was like, Mom, how did you talk to her? In which language? Mm-hmm. She says, I don't know, in English and with my hands and in all kinds of ways. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, our people are so cute. Like we are just... We have that passion in our soul, and we just adapt because you have to. Like they say, oh, it's so hard to learn a language after 30, and it's so hard to do this. We do it all.
Yeah.
I have a friend, she just had to go to Italy a lot because she had some family issues, and in her 30s, she learned Italian in 1 year, fluent. Wow. We can. It's just that we limit ourselves.
It's up to you, yeah.
Yeah,
and
sure. Then, oh my gosh, and then this other time, my mom's learning English little by little, and she's taking Ubers to her ESL classes, because I'm like, Mom, you're not going to be one of those people that moves to America and never learns English. I'm sorry. That will not be you. So I said, you have to go and learn English. So she was really happy to go, and she found friends and whatever, and there's 2 funny stories. One, my mom is in a taxi, actually, not an Uber. She's in a taxi, and she accidentally called me, and she's like leaving a voice message because I didn't answer. And later I listened to the voice message, and I just hear my mom, oh my God, Oh my God, 55? Oh my God, 60. Jo, Estácio, Boże, what am I gonna do? Oh my God. Jo, 65. And then he stops and he goes, okay, 65. She goes, I have cigarettes. I give you cigarettes and $50.
Oh my God.
And he's like, ma'am, it's $65. She says, okay, tomorrow you come to the Grove. That's where I live. And I give you the money, okay? Because I don't have. And she's like, yeah, ma'am, soon. She's like, I have the money.
And the guy's like, I don't freaking care.
And
You
I'm
have to pay
literally
me,
like
lady.
listening to this voice message.
Oh my,
and
that's
I'm
hilarious. I hope you kept that.
I
one.
do
wanna
have
hear-
it.
wanna
I
hear
do
that.
have it. It's so funny. And then finally the guy's like, okay, just go. Just go.
that's hilarious.
And so she gave him 50. That's all she had. And then another time she started taking Ubers. And so she's like trying to talk to people, you know, and so she's talking to her Uber. And I think I was on FaceTime with her or something, and she was like, there's a hole in the road, you know, and she wanted to tell him because every Uber was driving by this hole and it was actually really deep and you can ruin your tire and everything. And she goes, she's talking to me, she goes, one second, excuse me, sir, there's a big hole right there, so please be careful. And he's like, excuse me? And he looks at her, she's like, big whore? And I'm like, I was dying laughing so hard that I couldn't even say anything. I was like, Mom, you just told him there's a big whore. Not hole, it's hole. And she's like, oh my God.
But good for her. I'm so proud of her that she learned English.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially coming from Bosnia. Like kudos to her.
I know. And it's so cute.
Amazing.
It's so cute how we try and we adapt.
Yeah.
But
sure.
those stories can go on forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I just know when my mom visited me, maybe I think 2 times, one time in New York and one time here. And she doesn't like it. She doesn't like it here. Mm-mm.
What does she say?
She always says, when I ask her, like, oh, are you planning to come back? You want to stay with us for a little while? And she's like, okay, I can come, but only for 1 week. 1 week, and that's it. I have to go.
Wow.
She doesn't like it. I don't know. You know?
Did she ever say why? What is she that she doesn't like?
Specifically in LA, I think just like nothing is approachable. You know?
You can't walk places.
I mean, last time when she was here, I think in 2021 or 22, I remember taking her to, you know, typical touristic places like, you know, Newport and Santa Monica. And she was just like, oh, the beach is beautiful. It's nice.
Yeah.
She loved the sand because we don't have sandy beaches back home. So, but other than that, no, she wasn't really, even New York, she didn't really like it. We went to city once and she was like, okay, I saw city, that's all I need, because we stayed in Staten Island. So.
I don't like New York.
Yeah.
I get claustrophobic there. I get uncomfortable. There's way too many people. There's way too much stimulation everywhere.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You know how they say it's either you're a New York person or you're a LA person.
I'm
definitely a LA person.
Yeah, I'm very
100%.
much a LA person. Yeah. Do I think we have a lot of issues here? Yes. That's one of the other things. It was like 3 days after my mom got here. And we were walking on Melrose because our people love to walk. Yeah. Like where we come from.
That's the thing. My mom was like, I can't walk. Like she would walk around the house or around our street because she was scared that if she goes further, she's going to get lost.
Yeah.
So she's like, I mean, where's Square? Where's the center? She kept asking me. I'm like, Mom, there is no, LA so enormous that there is no center like we're used to.
And
you know?
where center is where's also Skid Row.
Yeah,
where
that's your center.
Where you don't want to walk. So we were walking on, I think it was Melrose. We drove there and parked and we're just walking around, and then there's this homeless guy behind us, and I don't know what the hell he was on, but he was screaming on top of his lungs and throwing things at us, and he was saying, bitches, and he was like throwing things at us, and my mom was like, oh my god, and I had to tell her, like, this is normal for LA. I mean, what do you say, you know? And they're everywhere.
I'm glad you mentioned the homeless people, because the very first time when I arrived to LA, I was living in a model apartment. So I just got here, and I remember I was like asking around, but I got the castings for the next day, right? And I was like asking around, but how can I go to castings? Is there a bus? Is there a, metro or whatever? And everybody was telling me like, no, you need to Uber. You can't drive with a bus. But me being stubborn, I was like, no, I'm going to figure this out. I remember we're looking at some map like buses map, and I was like, okay, I need to go. I lived at Pico Boulevard at that time on Robinson Street. That was like that's like West LA.
Yeah.
Is it right?
Yeah.
And I remember looking at the map, and I was like, okay, it's going to take me like 45 minutes from there to get to downtown. I was going to downtown for a casting because that's where, unfortunately, majority of castings are. And I remember taking a bus, getting into a bus. It was so stinky. It was so smelly. I just sat down and I was like, okay, you're okay. It's fine, you know. And as the bus was driving and I looked through the window, I saw a man sleeping on the floor. Not even sleeping. He looked drugged out. But at that moment, he looked very like he's dead or like he got sick. And, you know, and my first initial reaction was like, I got up, right? And there was a guy sitting next to me. And I was like, I was looking at the guy and I was like, oh my God, we need to help him. He's passed out on the street. So my initial reaction was like to get up. And this guy who was sitting next to me, he was like, oh no, it's a homeless person. Don't worry about it, you know? So that was I would say that was my biggest shock that I had. Just seeing the amount. And then once I got into downtown that same day, I was just like, I thought I'm going to be raped. I thought it was. So ever since then, every time now when I have to go to downtown for castings or for work, I'm just like, I get such an anxiety there. Even on the way there, driving on freeway, I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting that huge anxiety because it reminds me of that first initial shock that I had.
Oh,
it's so freaking sad.
It's so valid what you're saying because they are aggressive too.
Yeah.
You know that in that situation he was not aggressive, but I have a friend who you actually know, and
I was just about to ask you.
I'll skip saying her name. Not that she would care, but she was driving downtown, and that's where all the castings are. I've been there many times myself, and she says that she was just driving past these two homeless people that were getting in a fight, and she literally witnessed a murder. One of them killed the other one with a machete, and she saw him like holding it and stabbed the other guy in the heart, and like the blood and everything. And then she said the cops came and they made her literally like tell him what happened because she was a witness. And for us living in LA, she just kind of like went on and carried on with her day. But that is absolutely insane. Can you imagine you just witnessed a murder in the city that you live in? Because there's, I think, are we at 70,000 homeless people now?
Oh, I think so. Probably at least.
Yeah, and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
And a lot of them do have mental illness. I have a friend who had a business in Venice Beach. And he would always walk by this lady every day. And she was so nice. And she was what they call a beach bum, because she was a homeless person living on the beach. And he kind of became friends with her because little by little he would always see her, and he has this company downtown. So, in Venice Beach. So he's like, hey, like, why don't you come work for me? You don't have to be homeless anymore. I'll pay you good. Blah, and she's like, what? I'd much rather be a beach bum.
No way.
She's like, who wants to work?
Oh.
So
I'm sure there's people like that.
Yeah, not all, but some choose that lifestyle.
No, for sure. But you know what? I think majority of homeless people are drug addicts.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT how many homeless people in LA.
But I think majority of them are drug addicts, you know? And once you get into drugs, that's it. You're heading for a mental illness as well. So to have a combination of drugs and mental illness, how many?
Wow, girl, it's 75,000 right now.
Just in LA County.
In LA County, Los Angeles County, including city. And it says that, it's just getting worse. And you're correct. Most of them do drugs. And also, they come from all over the United States here.
Because the weather is nice.
Because of the weather.
Sure. Yeah. But I think this is a topic for another episode.
Exactly.
It's a very deep topic.
But it was a culture shock for both of us.
For sure. Because we don't have, luckily, we don't have homeless people.
No, we don't.
Balkans, just because, I'm sure there are some.
But, maybe a couple.
Yeah, I think in my whole hometown, even in whole Croatia, I think if maybe there's few, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never seen growing up any.
You never see tents anywhere. No, you never see. No. We don't accept that.
But you know why? Yeah, I think it's also because we have 4 million people in the whole Croatia,
Yeah.
and Croatia is big land-wise.
Yeah.
So to have 4 million people on such a big land, and
But
I think
also-
Croatia also takes care of
Right,
of
but
people
also
too.
if you think about it, 4 million people is a lot of people. And
Sure.
and there's no homeless.
Yeah.
I've never been in Croatia where I've seen tents.
Yeah.
Ever.
No,
Ever.
never, ever.
Or
no.
even if someone is homeless, you wouldn't even know. I mean, how would you know? There's nothing that would give it away.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there are poor people.
Of course.
There's a lot, unfortunate poor
Yeah.
people. But I think Croatian people are very good, and Serbian and Bosnian, with helping those people too.
Yes,
like
and
people
also-
do get together. We are
Yeah.
very helpful towards each other. I
Yeah.
think. At
and
least
we
that's my
don't
impression.
make a lot of money, but we
No.
still make enough to be able to at least pay rent and live, even if it's a modest way of
Sure.
living.
And people are living.
And
it's not like
people-
here,
Yeah.
working 9 to 5, and people here majority of people don't have lives here.
Yeah.
They're just working until they retire, and it's crazy. In Croatia and Balkan, people know how to enjoy themselves,
Yeah.
And even though they're not as rich as people may be here, it's like they're richer than these people here.
Yeah.
in a
By
way.
experiences
Yeah.
and everything that they
Yeah.
quote unquote have as far as friendships. Even the drinking coffee. We all have this thing in
Yeah.
common. We love to drink coffee for hours. I
Yeah.
mean, my American friends are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Drinking coffee." 2 hours
Yeah.
later, I'm still drinking coffee. They're like, "What?"
Yeah, for 4 hours you just
Yeah.
sit down and you talk about life. And I was watching this Netflix documentary. It's called Blue Zones. Have you seen that?
No.
So it's the whole documentary is about the you know what the blue zone is.
Yeah.
So it's the countries where people live the longest, right?
Yes. Italy is one of them, right?
Yes, Sicily, I think,
Okay.
or Sardinia or something like that. And the biggest factor why people live long in those countries is not food. I mean, it's a little bit food, fresh air, of course, all of that. But the biggest factor is
I know.
Community.
Community.
Yeah,
Yes.
community, because we're social beings and we need people around us. And if you have that, doesn't matter what you eat. People in freaking Italy and Croatia, they smoke cigarettes and since they're 15 years old till 80, and they live until they're 99. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're such a people. We're such a.
We're like, we love to have people around us.
We're people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's true. I was shocked when I saw that because I thought it was going to say food, but it didn't. It
it's
said,
definitely a factor,
of course,
and a fresh air.
Mediterranean diet.
But again, I think there's a place, I forgot now, but there's a place in Japan where people live longest, and majority of those people smoke cigarettes. You know what I mean?
I remember that scene.
Yeah.
There's like a very, very old Asian guy, and he was like doing
Yes.
yoga.
Doing yoga, but then he smokes the whole pack that day,
Yeah, exactly.
Because again, it's
We gotta
it's a
have that.
community.
And it goes back to what we talked about, what makes you feel rich. What is rich in 2025? Is it really having millions of dollars, or is it having happiness and community?
Yeah.
That community is proven.
And happiness and community equals health.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest thing that I always say in LA. That's what I miss the most. Yeah, I do have friends here and, I do hang out, but it's not as approachable as it was in Europe.
Yeah.
It's like you need to have an appointment with your friend in LA to go see him or her,
Yeah.
It's like you need to drive 25, 30, 45, 1 hour, to see that person. And it's like, that's a little bit crazy, and it's hard. That's probably the hardest thing for me here in LA.
Another culture shock.
Yeah, sure. Biggest one.
Yeah, I love when you call me and you're like, I'm in the area, I'm stopping by for
Yeah.
coffee. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm not home.
Yeah.
Sometimes I am.
Yeah.
But other times, like,
Majority of times you were.
I was like, I wish you told me earlier.
Yeah, it's like you have to plan everything. It's like
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, I think that we covered the biggest.
Yeah, at least for
Shockers.
us, and I think that we're both kind of Americanized by now. I feel like a good thing about us is that we lived in the Balkans long enough to not be just American, right? But then we also lived here long enough to adapt and learn.
And not wanting to go back.
Exactly.
Because I personally would not want to live in Croatia again.
Oh, see, I would.
Full-time. You would?
I would go back in a heartbeat.
No way.
Yeah, I would.
Wow.
I would, because
Really?
I just love how everything in Europe is so close, and I'm such like a adventurous soul that to me, I wouldn't really live anywhere for too long without leaving and traveling and wandering around. And let's say Belgrade, for example. I love Belgrade, and everything's an hour, 2-hour flight. In Europe, right? I mean, Dubai is 4 hours, and Thailand's closer, Bali's closer. You know, it's just being able to travel for me is the number one thing.
Well, I'm just gonna say, don't leave me yet. I'm just getting started, okay? So you have to be here at least for another 5 years, okay?
I promise I'll stay.
All right, guys, that's all. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.
See you next time.
Bye.